as capitalism. The people who are here are the leaders of the chairman, chief executives of the top banks, of the biggest multinational companies, of UN institutions like the World Trade Organization and the World Bank, of several EU commissioners, and politicians from the US, Canada, UK and EU. These people only come not to have a cozy discussion because they have an agenda which they have got to fix with their peers in order to concert their plans, in order as far as possible to preserve or enhance their own interests, but having to take account of other people with power and how they can do that together as far as possible. That's what it is all about. That's why it is entirely secret. They do meet in Davos in Switzerland every year. The difference is that the press is present there, and the public, if they can get in. Here, they're half a mile away, and we can't get any closer, and you will not get any communique at the end. When Cameron goes to the EU Council, along with the other prime ministers of the other 27 EU states, he always, even though it is open to the press, it's reported by the press, excellently if I may say, he always comes back to the House of Commons and is subject to an hour or more questioning by the Leader of the Opposition and every other MP who asks him a question in the House of Commons, usually on a Monday. If that happens with the EU Council, which we all know about, and which I have to say is not always on the most important issues, what about this, which is something very serious? Capitalism is in a very bad state. We've already had a triple dip. The Eurozone is continuing to go down. The EU shows no sign of recovery. The United States has made some recovery, but is beginning to slip a bit. China is still slipping far below their normal rate of growth. Capitalism is in a very serious state. These people are meeting to decide what to do about their system.
The chief member of the Bilderberg Group, Mr. David Yan, actually admitted that it was this group that helped start and create the European Union. I was wondering, do you have any comments on his blatant answer saying that it was this secret group that helped create the euro?
Well, I'm not sure whether that is really true. I mean, the European Union started in 1957 at the Conference of Messina, and Bilderberg, or the people in it, have had some influence, but I think there were far more profound reasons. The need for France and Germany to find a common ground to prevent a third terrible world war was the main one.
As a member of this government, is there anything you could do or will do because of this secretive meeting?
Yes, I'm not a member of the government, let me say. Okay. I'm a member of Parliament of the Labour Party, of the opposition. Yes, there is, because I have already put down 3 questions to the Prime Minister asking that statements be made to the House about what actually happened, what were the key decisions made, and in particular how it is going to affect government policy, because that's all what we want to know. They can decide as much as they want to, but we want to know how we, the people of this country, as well as other countries, are going to be affected by it, and have our chance to give our opinion, and that they are held to account. That's what democracy is all about. Now, no doubt I will get some polite but rather evasive answers to what have to be written questions, but I am going to put down an urgent question, and under the procedure of the House introduced by the Speaker, it isn't for the government to decide whether to reply to that, it is the Speaker. And if the Speaker does agree it, and it's entirely his prerogative, then the Minister, the most appropriate Minister, has to reply, and there is usually discussion for half an hour, and it could be longer because of the importance of this conference. So that would begin to open it up. But this should happen naturally. There should be a statement made by the Minister. It shouldn't have to be required by a member of the opposition.
There's been a lot of secrecy. There's been a lot of suppression of the press when it comes to Bilderberg and their annual meetings. When you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't hide it. But when you're doing things in darkness, you could only wonder what's happening. What do you wonder could possibly be happening in this meeting?
Well, of course, I entirely agree that there is only secrecy which is enforced. I mean, it's important to realise this is held in Watford, which is, those of us from the UK will know that's not the most obvious place. If you're having an international conference, it is almost always in London. Why is it in Watford? Well, it's probably a bit more difficult to get to. Secondly, the place is very carefully guarded by the police, as we all know when we try to get in. And they are paid for by the Bilderberg Association, which is a charity, which is paying for local security to keep us out. So they're very determined about it. Now, the only reason is because they are talking very frankly, very candidly about their problems, about how they see them being resolved, about what they think the future of capitalism should be, and saying to our political leaders, such as George Osborne, who is here, Kenneth Clark, perhaps rather surprisingly, what they, the leaders of private markets in Western capitalism, what they believe government should be doing. That's what they're there for. But they may be embarrassing if that was given publicity. That's why they want to keep it secret.
How do you feel about the police response to this protest? Obviously, G4S is searching everybody who comes in. You cannot stand on the sidewalk. Is this really freedom of speech?
Well, of course, of course, it isn't freedom of speech. That's exactly the point I'm making. And G4S have been paid. I don't know how much. That's another question I think we'll put down and get an answer to, but I'm sure it runs into a few 100,000, if not a million or two, which of course has to be paid for either by this absurd charity or by the taxpayer. I mean, it's all about ensuring that they reach their key decisions. I cannot think of any other gathering at all in the course of this year which is more important than this one. And we're kept out.
That's true. Anything else you'd like to say?
I think I've said it all.
Thank you so much, Michael. Best of luck. Best of luck with all your queries and questions. Thank you.
Please, one question. The Swedish attendees here, Carl Bilderberg, is definitely breaking the Swedish law and committing political treason. American attendees, according to the Logan Act, are breaking American law if they were followed. Do you have any knowledge about British law at all?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, and I cannot comment on it.
Are you really sure that you in public will not have an opinion about whether British politicians are breaking the law when they attend the Bilderberg group in secret?
Well,
I'm very clear about the Swedish.
Well, okay, perhaps you would like to tell me about it afterwards. I don't think this is quite the point to have a discussion about this. If you have evidence about that, either give it me afterwards or write to me. And if it appears to be similar to British law, I will follow it up. But I'm not aware of an answer to your question at the moment.
Hello, Times. Does this meeting change anything? Does anything actually come out of it which changes, how the rest of us live?
Well, it certainly could, and my view is that people like Kravis, king of private equity for a long time, people like de Castries, who is the head of this enormous French conglomerate insurance, AXA, Peter Thiel, who was the founder of PayPal and a billionaire venture capitalist, Goldman Sachs chair Peter Sutherland, Thomas Eads, the boss of Eads, the EU defence flagship. These people don't attend something like this to have a cosy chat. They have a very clear agenda. Capitalism is in a bad way, we all know that, and they will be discussing how to try to resolve it in a way which enhances their own interests, not necessarily the interests of social democracy or of the people more widely, but in a way which can get them out of this ever bigger hole that capitalism seems to be falling into. That's what they're discussing.
So that's what they want. So why do people like George Osborne turn up?
Well, that's a very good question. Is it so that, because the lobbying, there'll be intense lobbying going on, they will all be lobbying each other. And you could say that George Osborne will be lobbying them, perhaps he is, to get them to conform to his agenda. But I think there is also the other way around, that they are lobbying him to ensure that he conforms to their agenda. Now, which way round it is?
Who's more powerful? Yes.
But this is a jostling occasion when there are a lot of interests which are being threatened and a lot of power which is at risk. That's why this is held. That's why it's held secretly, so that they can speak totally candidly without any fear of the press intruding or difficult questions being asked or they're being called to account.
Yeah, I'm afraid I missed the beginning of what you said earlier, but if I can ask a question which will touch on that. You've been a government minister, you know that some things have to be discussed privately because it would be damaging to national interest if they go there. From things from affecting the markets to putting off government strategy before it can be placed. What's your objection to the secrecy here?
Well, you say things have to be discussed privately. It is of course true that ministers discuss with their officials before they make statements to Parliament or to the press. Everyone understands that, and I don't think anyone disputes it, although some people would like to see more transparency on that process. But this is a very different area. This is the leaders of all different institutions of Western capitalist governments who are meeting here together. And their decisions today, I'm quite sure, are going to have a significant impact on the future of the Western economies. Now, that is my speculation, because I cannot prove it, but I would be very surprised if people who are that wealthy and that powerful would bother to attend something like this unless they wanted something very important out of it. And what they want that is very important is bound to affect the rest of us. So I think it should be subject to democratic accountability. At the very least, there should be a statement made by the appropriate minister, probably the Chancellor of the Exchequer, in the House on Monday. When David Cameron goes to the EU Council, which is attended by the press and members of the public if they want to go, and the press always tells us usually on a Saturday or a Sunday exactly what happened, so we all know. But even so, the Prime Minister makes a statement in the House of Commons and is subject to questions by the Leader of the Opposition and by all MPs who wish to ask, and he is held to account, so that there is nothing hidden if people wish to raise it. Now, that, I think, is the proper procedure, and when the press is not being allowed into this, unlike Davos, unlike Brussels, and when the range of people, 130 people, absolute top brass of Western capitalism, when they're attending this, it is crucial, if democracy means anything, that they should be held to account for what they may have decided.
Senior representatives of your own side, including Ed Balls, have attended in the past. I don't know if he's here today.
He is here.
He is here.
Yes, he is.
Is David Cameron here today? Is he going to be here?
As far as I know, not.
So it's not just the Conservative, the Labour Party is here as well today.
Oh yes, yes. I have no objection to people coming, and if people wish to discuss, that's absolutely fine. Of course, they will do that, and of course, it's perfectly proper that they should. But because they're talking about the future of all of us, they do have to be held to account. See, the problem is, I think democracy has gravely weakened over the last couple of decades. We've had technocratic governments because of the crisis in Greece and in Italy. Whether that improves the matter is a very open question. But increasingly we are seeing this neoliberal philosophy that the role of government is to get out of the way and leave it to private markets. That's what this meeting is, leaving it to private markets and those who run them. Now that is totally contrary to the democratic instinct, and I think that's very serious.
Is this the formation of a shadow government, shadow global government? Is this the formation of it?
Well, you're putting it in fairly colourful language. I wouldn't quite go as far as that, but I certainly think that a gathering like this does have that kind of aura about it. It is a shadow institution to which the rest of us do not have access, but which includes people in the highest rank within the governance structure.
This has been going on for some time. From past meetings, have you become aware of anything that has come out of past meetings?
Of Bilderberg?
Yeah.
No, to be honest. But then I think this is the first time in 15 years it's been held in the UK. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I have not visited abroad. I've often been rather curious, so I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was wondering